brethren.
You should know what this says, right?
Actually, I don't. That's the best one. I love it. Oh, you guys, you got the #1 thing, the mating. This is my favorite one to talk about. Oh, man. Okay, so what's everyone's favorite thing to eat in the sea with lots of butter?
Lobster. Crab.
Lobster. My people. I don't eat lobster, but some people do. So lobsters have a very intricate mating system. Who knew? Who knew? I actually wrote an article about it. Yeah, that was some of my best work. Anyway, so how they do it is when they get ready to do the dirty, they pee in each other's faces. It's weird. It's weird. The ocean is a weird and wonderful place, my friends. And so when the males are peeing in the females' faces, sorry girls, within that urine, the urea, it's chock full of chemicals. And what do you think those chemicals might be saying?
Don't have sex with
No. I mean, kind of, but PG. Mom. This is for the kids, okay? Just kidding. That urea is telling the female lobster the physical fitness of the male lobster. Oh. Yeah. So if it's not that impressive, she'll know, right? Just through the chemicals being exuded by the male lobster. Crustaceans of all sorts do this like crazy mating thing. And then the chemical interactions actually dictate a lot of the mating ritual between crustaceans of when they're gonna be molting, because then they have to get out of their shell in order to get the babies. There's a lot going on. So it's very chemically driven. Okay, you guys, we got all the chemicals here, right? So you guys all kind of know how animals use the chemicals, and the plants, right? Plants are like way full of chemicals. We didn't even know. Well, maybe you did, but now you really do. And so we kind of get to this point of like, okay, cool. What's next? So some of my research in the emerging field of science is how we as humans might be interacting, right? It's always about that. We gotta talk about humans, right? And so we produce a lot of chemicals, right? Not necessarily the good ones. And so not only is this effective for our own bodies, we talk a lot about our endocrine disruptors. Anyone heard that name before? So this is when a chemical gets into your endocrine system and messes around with it. Not great. And then we, in the aquatic world, we talk about endocrine disruptors as well, but also information disruptors. So what are some chemicals that we know that we might put into the ocean? Oil, yeah, PAHs, PCBs. Drugs. Drugs are a good one. Who goes to Starbucks? Anyone? Who drinks a lot of coffee? Stranger?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I know, right? I drink too much coffee. So caffeine is a drug, right? So when caffeine, so they actually were able to see this in Seattle, the caffeine capital of the world, because Starbucks. That the effluent coming out of Seattle was so high in caffeine that it was influencing how different snails were attaching to rocks, because the way that it interacted with their chemosenses, their ability to take in information, it affected their foothold. That's crazy. They're like basically hyperactive snails, right? They couldn't sit still or stick to rocks. I don't know. That's a big deal. So caffeine is a big one that we don't think about, right? Because coffee's fine. How about San Diego Bay?
Oh, the sewage.
Ooh, sewage is good, right? Sewage is big. Sewage often just like creates dead zones, right? Just creates nutrients into the water and then oxygen deprivation. But the big one, what do we put on the bottom of boats? Copper, right? Why? It's so effective, right? It keeps the animals off. Why? Yeah, because they don't want to touch it. Does that make sense now? So, I mean, we have like 24,000 boats in San Diego Bay. Loki. Don't mess up the top. So we have a lot of boats in San Diego Bay, all of them slowly leaching copper, right? Copper can have some pretty detrimental effects. Not just to the animals itself, but also to how they sense the world. Oftentimes when we put chemicals or we regulate chemicals into the water, we regulate at the level in which it will kill half the population, right? So the LD50 as they call it. But I'm talking about a much more sensitive level here. So when these copper, these different heavy metals, right, the PCBs, when they get into the water, they're not killing animals yet. They're not at that level, but they are at a level that's interfering with how they're sensing the world around them, which you could argue would be more important, right? If you can no longer sense predators because there's copper in the water, is that a big deal? Yeah, you're gonna get eaten anyway, right? So it's like an LD closer to 50. Another way this is happening, who here has heard of ocean acidification? I don't know, climate change. It's a thing. So ocean acidification is when we change the pH of the ocean. And that too, so it's not just about the shells, right? About shells being able to be built or not be built. It's also how animals are perceiving the world around them. So when you change the pH, you change how organisms perceive things. They're like us. Their bodies are at a very specific pH level. And so if that shifts, things go crazy. So a bunch of Australian researchers actually looked into this. Who loves Nemo? Everyone loves Nemo, right? So Nemo's clownfish, we call them Nemos. They like their anemones, right? They have a home anemone that they live in, and the way that they find that anemone is they sniff it out. And so some researchers in Australia found that if you lower the pH of the water, that those Nemos no longer go to their home anemones, right? So they can't find their homes anymore. That's super sad. And so this is happening in all sorts of different ways in our ecosystem, and a lot of times we don't even know, right? So, but there's things we can do, right? With the climate change, the ocean acidification, like lower our carbon emissions, make good choices on who we vote for, right? Who knew that has a big impact? Not in this uniform. Just kidding. And why we have different types of regulations for pollutants that go into the water, for different kinds of emissions. These are the reasons, right? It's not just about like, some oil spill, right? That has long-lasting ramifications for these ecosystems. Okay. Let's see. What time is it? Oh, it's almost time for dinner. So, we're going to wrap this up. We've gone a little bit over. We warmed up our sniffers, right? We kind of had a hands-on activity of how we sense the environment. We went through all sorts of different ways. Who knew all these ways before we talked about this? There's a lot of chemicals going on, right? Let's get chemical. Right? Anyways, and then we kind of talked a little bit more in depth about how we might be disrupting these different chemical pathways. So with that, is there any questions? Or did I just kill it? We'll start here. David.
Could you just give us a little bit about what sort of research is going on in Cabrillo and other places on the coast here?
Yeah, of course. So Cabrillo, at national parks, we do a lot more monitoring than we would do like manipulative research. So we have 30 years of intertidal monitoring data. You're welcome to come join us every spring. Super fun. In which we go out, we count the animals, basically like a health checkup. Now we are the first of 3 parks, so it's us, Channel Islands, and Olympic National Park, to monitor the effects of ocean acidification in the Rocky Intertidal. A lot that has been done previously has been open oceanic ecosystems, but I would argue that in an ecosystem as harsh and extreme as the Rocky Intertidal, having one more stressor is just not great, right? So we monitor for ocean acidification effects. In terms of the terrestrial biosphere, we do vegetation monitoring. We do herpetological monitoring, so all the snakes and the lizards, mammals, we study mammals. We studied birds. This is the second year in a row that we've had gnatcatchers back in the park. That's so exciting. After 100 years, they were there. So look, it works, you guys, the whole conservation. Woo! We also have peregrines. There's rumor that we have a second set of nesting peregrines this year. And if you guys haven't seen baby peregrines, Google it when you get home, baby peregrines. So cute. I'm trying to think of what else that we're doing. A lot of habitat restoration and native species, or not native, invasive species removal. We were just out this morning doing some native restoration. So we grow all of our own plants. That's super fun. And we put them back into the park because we have very specific species out there at Cabrillo. Some would consider it an ecological island because it's surrounded by water on 3 sides and then surrounded by navy on the 4th. So a lot of things aren't getting out there. To that point, Shaw's agave, anyone seen it? Nope. You guys know what Shaw's agave? It's a good plant, right? So we're at the northernmost range of the Shaw's agave. And we have a population at the park, one of the largest still left in Southern California. There used to be a population at Borderlands, and then they put a fence in, right? And so what we're finding, however, unlike the population in Baja, is that our agave are cloning. So that's an interesting thing. So normally agave are pollinated by who? Bats. Bats, yes! Specifically a Mexican long-tongued bat, right? But our bat detectors, our little anabats, have not seen or heard any of the Mexican long-tongued bats out at the peninsula. And so that's like their main pollinator. They have these big giant cups just because they're bat pollinated, they just like drive into them, right? And so we are looking into who else might be pollinating. This past spring we've had some of our friends out from the Natural History Museum looking at birds and insects, specifically native bees. But they don't think that that's highly likely. I can't say that for sure yet, so that's insider information. We have actually, on one of our camera traps, we caught a rat that was crawling up an agave stalk, and so now we're like, oh baby. Drew Stokes from the Natural History Museum has a rat trap on one of the agave stalks to see if they're rat pollinated, because that's a thing that we haven't seen ever. And then we're also seeing like the efficacy of how those pollinators are doing. So we put little bags, once they've been pollinated, we put bags on the flowers so they can't be pollinated again. So if that is viable, then we'll see it and we'll know, oh, maybe it was a hummingbird or something like that. And then we're looking at, we do little cuts of the agave and plant them through the park. With the lack of water that we've had, we think that it might also be drought related. Like there might be seeds, but they might not be growing up because there's no water and the ground's too hard. They're just getting scorched before they get in. So lots going on the agave front. We're kind of all over the place, right? There's a lot going on in terms of science. And that's kind of why I come and do these talks, because a lot of times people don't know that we do science in national parks. I mean, we used to feed the bears, and that wasn't great. But we don't do that anymore, right? And we do a lot of science in our community and at our park. So.
You know what, you mentioned Channel Islands, and what I love about the Channel Islands is the foxes up there.
So good.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Now, that makes me think of what kind of natural animals may have been in Cabrillo 1,000 years ago.
Ooh.
What type of animals would have been in Cabrillo or on the peninsula?
That's
before?
such a good question to ask the Natural History Museum. They have all the records. But foxes, we just have been seeing foxes lately back at the park. We don't know if they were hiding or what was going on, but we have seen them. We even have a fox sign now. Very cute. No fox, or fox crossing, no speed. And so I'm trying to think. We have a lot of reptiles have been extirpated from the park. Just because they come up on the roads, because that's a nice place for them to be, and then they get smushed. Not great. Drive slow in the park, kids. What else? The birds and gnatcatchers are now finally coming back, so that's great.
Abalone.
Ooh, abalone. So I wouldn't. There used to be tons of abalone, right? Black abalone, green abalone. Now there's no abalone anymore. Yeah, so in the intertidal, yeah, abalone is a big one. Sea stars, not necessarily, I wouldn't peg it to sea star wasting disease. Mussels, we used to have lots of mussels 30 years ago. We don't anymore, and we don't actually know why. And people have looked at it, and they're just like, don't know. Might have to do with, I don't know. What else? That reminded me, we work with the Navy to do intertidal monitoring on the islands. So when you said the foxes, I was like, yes, I love the foxes. They're so cute. So we also work on San Clemente and San Nicolas Island. Recently, we've been actually studying the abalone, the black abalone out there, because those populations still remain. So in my 26 years before, I'd never seen abalone populations like they said, right? They're like, they cover the intertidal like rocks, and I'm like,
Oh, yes. My mom used to abalone out there.
yeah.
Well, it's been in a lot, I know Northern California, they just got farmed out. I mean, they got.
Yeah, they have really good aquaculture. But I was like, these guys are crazy. There's no such thing as abalone like rocks in the tide pools, right? That was in the last 30 years that they kind of and so it was cool to go out to the islands and see what it was like before us, and withering foot syndrome, right? Because disease and people together not good. So those populations are still looking good, but who knows, right? What else? Okay, with that, a quick reminder that National Parks Week is coming up, so I hope to see every single one of you there, right? Open Tower is on March 22nd, so if you want to come and go to the top of the Point Loma Lighthouse, ooh, very exciting. March 22nd, get there early, the crowds will be thick. And then with that, thank you guys so much for having me. I hope you all had some fun.
Yeah.
I had some fun. And thank you so much for support your national parks. We're gonna need you. Yeah? Okay, love it.
And then, if you enjoyed Alex's talk, which I'm pretty sure we all did, we do these talks every other month. So the next one will be in May 21st. Like we're here, there's a chance we might have it at the new housing development just down the street though. But the speaker will be talking about coexisting with coyotes, which is a very relevant thing that we all should know about. So yeah, please come to that. And also, if you have a chance, we have surveys for our events, so please fill one out if you can. Thank you all very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Al, question.
Yes, sir.
For tonight,
For tonight, that is a good question.